GORN's been officially in development for about 2 years now, and I think we're very happy with how far the game's come, but at some stage you do need to kind of finish your game and move on with your life. So we're kind of looking to take the content that's in the game there and just restructure it, add a bit of depth, add a bit of character to the game, and kind of wrap it up. The idea is still to have the content complete by end of this year. To that end, Becky Rod is here for a few weeks. He's assisting in some writing, recording some voice lines for the Gladiator, other kind of narrative elements, and then just spend next year polishing up everything that's there and just, rounding it out a little bit more. Well, we were planning to have the game finished by end 2018, but a few months ago we were kind of looking at the list of stuff that we really want in the game and the amount of time, and it didn't quite match up. So, I mean, at that stage you always got to make the tough decision of like, do you work yourself to death? Do you extend development time? Or do you just cut a whole bunch of features that you're really excited about? So we decided we're going to spend a little bit longer on the game.
For the next 6 weeks, we're basically going to be doing as much world building and meta implementation as we can. We just went to Fontaine, really isolated, very quiet, very peaceful.
Had some high-level discussions about what we want to achieve while Becky Rod is here, trying to get everybody on the same page and just trying to lay out some theory of what we want to do in the coming weeks.
We brainstormed with some pens and paper, and we basically came up with the design of the cell. It's the general flow of the cell which directly relates to the meta.
GORN team knows that the next few months are going to be vital for finishing the game. Fontaine was simultaneously us going to a place where we can kind of decide on exactly the goals that we're going to set, as well as a little bit of time off.
Played some pool and darts and drank lots of wine and listened to bad music on a jukebox. I think it was productive. Over the next 6 weeks, I plan to make an album with Beaky, kind of like the hip-hop trailer. And then obviously the rest of the game, audio stuff.
So we're kind of taking all the existing weapons and trials and champions and all that stuff and just changing the progression through that, and hopefully at the same time adding some stuff to help the world feel a bit richer, make the parts of the game outside of combat feel hopefully similarly polished to the in-combat parts.
Tying stuff together with the meta requires a fair amount of reshuffle and redesign of the cell environment. Up until now, it's worked and it's been functional, but we haven't had to tie in any world building, any trials, any of the proper meta or progression systems.
So this is the first version, just using pre-existing stuff and kit bashing it together.
Each champion has its own little area in the cell, and you go and there's a set amount of curated levels that you play through before fighting each champion. And it makes each champion kind of feel like a little adventure on its own, even if it's still just in the same arenas as before.
One of the main things that we've kind of been trying to work out is how do we make each floor look the same but different? How do we implement progression? One of the things we decided to do in the cell in order to show progression is each floor needs to convey a certain aesthetic that matches up with whatever arena you're going to be fighting in. We've also had to design different doors for the champions, which has been quite interesting because we need to tie each door into different cells, different environments.
What are you currently busy with here, Luke?
It's a door frame for the cell environment. As you go up in the arena rankings and challenge new things, you're going to go through more and more grandiose doorways.
Within the cell, we've done it in a way that should we need to add any doors, replace any doors, close up any doors, change anything, add anything, we have that set up in an easy way. So it's not a whole redesign, it's not a whole massive construction project, it's not a train smash and we haven't done like 4 months of work and now we're realizing, oh, this door bolt doesn't fit or something. Jem's just returned back from Austin today.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing in Austin. Ate loads of good barbecue and tacos.
So we are pushing ahead to get him the new updated cell so he can start chiseling away at that in terms of getting it all working in game.
I joined the GORN team about 2 months ago, and I was just brought on to help out because there's a lot of polish and kind of new campaign stuff that we've got going on in GORN that we wanted to implement. And the main thing I've been doing is just been getting a whole new revamped version of the cell from the art team.
Bricks and rocks for weeks and weeks and weeks, but we're pretty close to wrapping that up.
and they're still busy texturing that up and polishing and that sort of thing. But I've been getting that and just rebuilding it from scratch, basically. So everything works. So the elevator in the cell works, the doors work properly in the cell. So the other thing I'm working on is getting seagulls to fly properly, which is actually turning out to be way harder than I initially anticipated. I'm trying to get to improve the seagull motion, because we've got these gulls that flock around the arena, and they look pretty terrible, especially in VR. So I'm trying to make them a little more physically responsive. So what we really like is to have seagulls like flock into the arena and start picking away at like body parts and gibs and all sorts of things and possibly carry them off. It's kind of how they would fly in real life.
Upside down, yeah.
Yeah, you get bored after a while and you'd want to change it up a bit, wouldn't you? I've done a few iterations of that and I'm still trying to get them to sort of fly properly and interact with the environment properly. Oh God, they're all stuck. I think we got the scale wrong, so they're about 1 meter wide. So at the moment they're kind of giant, terrifying mutant seagulls, but soon they'll be flying and scaled properly, so that'll be good. Fortunately, when they're dead, they carry on like squawking away. So, so there's going to be a lot of polish to take care of, but yeah, I think we know now exactly how the campaign's going to work. We've got a very good idea of how the language and the story is going to be delivered and that sort of thing. So yeah, I would say I'm feeling confident about it, but ask me again in a few weeks, maybe. Who knows? Yeah. BQ Root, our cultural advisor, also known for the fantastic hip-hop tracks he's made for GORN. He's writing aspects of the storyline. He's developing the language further and the way we're going to display that throughout the world. In the last week, Rowan's still been doing a lot of that meta stuff, how we're going to present various objectives to the player, how we're going to tell the story, all that voice work. The main one is the Emperor's voice. It tells you objectives for the various trials that we have. Bounced around a few different voice actors.
If you can survive your first battle, then you will become a gladiator.
Then you will become a gladiator.
I do like the kind of semi-pompous thing, which is how we brief these voice actors.
You've won one battle, but now you must learn to endure.
If it's pompous, you need to have a really deep voice, like a Jabba the Hutt kind of pompous.
You can quit if you want. It will be easier for you.
You think you have what it takes to survive?
We had someone come in to do voiceovers for the Emperor, and it was like an 1.5 hour long session.
The barrier to our greatest fight is in strength.
And then I had to cut the best takes out of that into clips, hundreds of clips. It was quite a chore. It took me like 2 days to get right.
It's time to unleash everything you've got.
My ears were so fatigued by the end of it because it's like shouting and growling into my ear for like an hour and a half.
Win your first challenge, then you will become a fighter.
So the team is at a point now where we are kind of almost at the end. So Ruan is really concentrating on getting all of the voice lines and the triggers of those voice lines working.
We added 1,000 or so voice responses for the gladiators themselves. Finally did the voice lines for the Emperor.
Take up your weapon. Salute and brace for Crazy 2.
Marcel did most of the models and the placing and the kind of aligning of the bric-and-brac that we're going to have around the cell.
As you unlock stuff, there'll be like different funny gags and props and stuff going up here. Just a couple of different things that we're still putting together. Some like leopard print underwear, and like gold Achilles pluck. And the first stone you kind of use to kill someone, and yeah, these are all the props that I'm gonna need to get through. A lot of them are rehashes, but there's quite a bit.
I will be also working on the cell guy, Adelbe, who we're really excited about. He's kind of the big story character in the game.
I think he's got a lot of personality. He's like consistent with the original GORN guide, but also just feels new.
We didn't always have a name for him and everything, but we wanted a guy in the cell who would just like chat with the player. A couple months ago, I did a couple drawings of just like a really emaciated GORN guy with a big beard and like shackles around his hands and stuff.
He's there to give you a little bit of guidance. He's there to fill out the world a little bit. He's like our loading screen tips in a way. He's also just there to, you know, bring some more color to the world.
And I'm making sure that his textures are connected up properly to exactly what I want them to be.
Sorry.
I'm boring myself, don't worry. And we'll see how all of it pans out. We can't have all of it. There's quite a few restrictions with the way the GORN guy's rig is set up. We don't want his beard to like go through his chest, for instance. and I'm really excited to get a chance to work on him and sculpt him up.
I've been making music and bugging everyone in the studio.
Oh yeah, something new. Bringing the beats.
Someone's Nokia is ringing.
So I got a new synthesizer called the OPZ, and that was like a new tool, perfect timing. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make a bunch of beats.
Yeah, I got it. Just get one, dude. Start making beats.
You guys can have like wheels.
Takes me right back to the Royal Albert Hall.
Oh, yeah, so
beautiful.
I guess the last 3 weeks I've been working on Bikirut's EP, which will drop when the game comes out. So I just made like 10 or so throwaway beats and gave them to Bikirut. He listened to them and laid down some vocals on ones he felt were like cool. There's some crazy lore about why Bikirut exists and stuff. Yeah, I'm in a place now where I'm like pretty happy. It took me a while to get the right sound, I think. It's very dark and ominous, and like I think it really fits the unusual language.
This week we've mostly been consolidating what we've done thus far and try and just get as much functional in the game as we can, so we can just actually play the game with all the stuff in there and see how bad it is.
Just basically playtesting some of the new stuff. We haven't got too many playtests at the moment, so a lot of us are just testing the campaign stuff and seeing if everything feels good and if the pacing's right and difficulty.
It's pretty bad, but maybe not as bad as it could have been. So.
In the last little week of our, I guess, year-end crunch session, it was cool because we had time to kind of just consolidate, hang out a little bit more, play the game, and get a feel for the content that we've created. We made a new tutorial for the movement system, and most people who've been playing the game for a while will know that I really prefer the GORN movement system, that grab and pull. It doesn't feel like a tutorial that much, and it's very, very short. And to try and hopefully teach it in a way that people intuitively understand how the movement works and kind of play the game in the way that I feel is best with the default GORN movement system. New audio engines so you can better tell where sounds are coming from and hopefully fix a bug with audio cutting out. We progressed a lot on the final arena, how it looks and plays. Deathbit got more polished.
We're kind of like going for more like a stonier vibe as opposed to like a more sand kind of desert environment, and then we're gonna still play with the lighting of it and get like a little bit more dramatic lighting. So basically it's very easy to kind of come in here and start like playing around if you set things up properly from the get-go.
Even if you had been playing the game, if you were to go and play through from scratch, I feel the experience will feel like fresh and rich. The player's journey on becoming the greatest gladiator feels like that journey now, rather than just, you know, a bunch of more random fights that you're doing, which is really big. And there definitely are a few nuggets for existing fans and people who really like the game. Bulk of the update is like, let's go from an early access game to an actual game, like a game that feels like a finished product. Yeah, so we're done for this year. We'll be wrapping up this a little bit, and then next year when we all get back, we're going to be putting the finishing touches on all this work and try and get this update out as soon as possible. I'm really excited to see how people react to it. And then it's probably one more update. This might be the second last early access update if things go according to schedule, which they never do, so, you know.
Dude, this is my music face.
I really don't ever want to see you play music.
Are you still looking?